variety of colors. The Shop tab on WordRadio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Live Nation presents Friday, February 14th, 2020, Boys to Men at the Met Philadelphia. Valentine's Day, February 14th, Boys to Men will be home for a special night at the Met Philadelphia. Local pre-sale begins Thursday, October 3rd from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. All tickets on sale Friday, October 4th at 10 a.m. Make it a great night out with your special sweetheart. Valentine's Day, February 14th, Boys to Men at the Met Philadelphia. For more information or to purchase tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com or WordRadio.com and click on the Boys to Men banner.
Enterprise Exterminators provides customers with the highest quality service. Enterprise will evaluate and eliminate whatever pest problems you may have, specializing in bed bugs, fleas, mice, and termites. Hurry down to 4943 Wayne Avenue or call 215-849-7070. Enterprise services Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey and is licensed and insured. Free inspection and do-it-yourself kits are available. Call now and ask about their WORD discount. 215-849-7070.
Now, with more clarity, this is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at wordradio.com. You're listening to The Shamari Show, hosted by Brother Shamari on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Black Talk Media.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home walk restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet. Fingerling. Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
Word TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at Forward. Word TV. Black Talk Media. You're listening to The Shamari Show, hosted by Brother Shamari on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Black Talk Media.
Vê uma galinha rojão, traz a linha pro fogão, vem fazer a maçã. Hoje é um dia de sol, alegria de coió, é curtir o verão. Vê uma galinha rojão.
And welcome back to the Shamari Show. I am Eric Keith Grimes, brother Shamari, and the sounds you just heard were from Baba Tom Lowry and Alex Shaw. Out of Brazil, y'all, 20th anniversary tomorrow at World Cafe Live. Greetings. Welcome to the Shamari Show.
Thank you for having us here.
Thanks for being here. We good? We all set? Talk about Alo Brazil, number one. Talk about it. Let our listening audience know who you all are. 20 years in. You look 20 years old, so it's kind of hard to believe it's been around that long. So talk a little bit about that history. What made you all decide that you wanted to create and be a part of a company that focused on Brazilian music and bringing that culture to Philadelphia?
I'm going to throw it to Tom first and maybe talk a little bit about the history, and then we can talk about kind of what this band represents, I think, in Philadelphia.
Well, going back 40, almost 50 years ago, guys were interested in Brazilian music, but it wasn't as much information. So people like Bobby Crowder.
Wow, yes.
He was the first guy I saw with the beating bow. It was in the closet. Lee Culture Center.
Wow,
some Pandero players.
Going back.
Dave Washington played basic Pandero. He learned from someone named George Cannon. Just mention some of these guys.
I see.
Ken Dotson's radio show was a big influence. And after a while, we started a group. Me and I started a group, Philly Samba. That's when we all met and started playing Batucada.
So how does the Brazilian interest evolve? Because when you think about Barbara Crowder and you think about, I think about Philly drummers, it's usually the djembe, the battery, the djembe, and the West African dance and things of that nature. And then the brothers who are doing the congas. How does the Brazilian thing evolve and become important?
For me, it was seeing Miles Davis with Airto. It's like 1970, 69, 70. Went there by mistake at the, what was it, 22nd and Arch? What's the place?
22nd and Arch.
I don't know. I was 4, so.
Anyway, a lot of the rock groups would go there. I saw Hollywood there and Chicago, and Miles was there with Airto, and he had all these. He was on a blanket, and he had all these instruments that I've never seen before, making all these sounds like cuica, which I found later, and the beating bow and tambourines, and playing what he liked to call colors. Off of DJ Net playing drum set, and he would play like sounds like kashishis and like incidental. Like
I'm just curious your perspective, Bob. I don't think, this is just my opinion, I think that there are some jazz musicians, I think of Dizzy Gillespie, but I also think of the drummer Max Roach and Art Blakey, who don't get enough credit for really being the bridge between here and African and the diaspora regarding the role of the drum and percussion, and introducing that through jazz music into our repertoire to say, hey, I like that Brazilian sound there, or that rhythm there, that they were importing and bringing in from West Africa, from Brazil, and things of that nature. What are your thoughts about that?
How about that? Art Blakey, there are Afro-Cuban books where there's a section, the Art Blakey, the Art Blakey rumba.
right.
Yes, it's actually in there how he played it on drum set.
I appreciate it. So there's an energy and a culture and a spirit that's here, and then this creation Allo Brazil comes to be. So pick up the story there, Alex. How are you kind of infused into that energy and what's going on, and then you pick it up and decide to, hey, I'm gonna make an ensemble or be a part of an ensemble that is really dedicated in preserving this kind of legacy and moving it forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I wanted to start with Baba Tom, because, you know, it's really important to acknowledge the legacy that we have here in Philadelphia. There's been such a strong tradition of different African diasporic drum traditions throughout the city for decades. And Allo Brazil really is on the shoulders of that and of these guys that have been from little bits and pieces, you know, before internet, before YouTube and all that stuff. These guys were picking stuff up, you know, left and right. People coming in through town, traveling out of town when they can, looking at books, you know, listening to recordings, and just trying to like reconstruct, right? And I think that part of the Brazilian connection to Philly is in line with a lot of these other traditions that, you know, have come in piecemeal to Philadelphia, but have now really rooted and become very strong. So Tom was talking a little bit about, you know, in the 70s and the 80s, Phila Samba. On the way here, we were actually just watching a video of the Phila Samba performance during the Africa Americas parade down Broad Street, right out in front of the old Uptown Theater. Okay. And looking at, this is 1989. And
I didn't recognize myself.
It's been a minute. Well, 89, man, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah, I can name more names, you know, that we built on, you know.
But, you know, from there, Phila Samba kind of spun into Banda Bacana, and then Samba Nosso. Yep. And so in these different manifestations, Allo Brazil kind of rooted in 1999. And depending on who you talk to, there's different origin stories. But the bottom line is that...
just me.
Just you, just Tom. But it started, you know, in just building on the repertoire that these guys, and primarily had been just vocals and drums. And then little bit by little bit, Patricio Acevedo was he was a Chilean guitarist, and started adding guitar to it, and he would get together with Peter Bertini, and they would start to build on repertoire, and it was just really out of the love of the music. I came in 2001. I had started to meet these guys because Peter had a weekly dance class at University of the Arts, and he was teaching Brazilian dance every year to university students, but also was open to community members. And so there would be kind of this weekly gathering where guys would come and play for the class, and that's how we started to build relationships. And a lot of the guys that have been in Allo Brazil were part of that community, part of that weekly gathering, and then from that kind of spun into more rehearsals. And I joined in 2001. And from there, I was bringing my own journey through Brazilian music, and kind of meeting up with this platform that was already established, and was able to kind of continue to develop it together with everybody.
It's kind of like when David Ruffin joined the Temptations. Temptations took off.
I'm not gonna lie. Until just now, I thought he was a founder. You know, so
Me too.
Now, ironically though, for me, I wasn't familiar with Allo Brazil until you know, later on. A girlfriend of mine was really into the Allo. I was introduced to you all when I attended I think it's called Spoken Hand.
Right.
And so your battery was part of that larger thing, and that's when I first, you know, you all were holding down the Brazilian rhythms there, and that's when I first heard of Allo Brazil through there. So I bring that up because Philadelphia has been a keeper of the culture around drum music, and African diasporic drum music for a while. Talk a little bit about just Philly's role in holding space for that, and then for me, it manifests in you all's performances because you all have had drummers from Universal up there. I've seen you had some, you know, you have Brother Kamal doing the capoeira stuff. You've had brothers who doing different djembe rhythms. Baba Joe Bryan, of course, a legend. You all showcase a lot of the diasporic African elements even within your just talk about how you see that mission of holding space for the role of the drum in African culture through what you're doing with Allo Brazil.
Two organizations for me that gave me the love, and a lot of people that I play with, Baba Joe, we go back to 12th grade, is Off the Hall Dance Ensemble. That's where a few of the members in Spoken Hand played, Wookie and Kwesi and Steve, Chucky. And for me, it was Lee Culture Center.
Okay.
Southwest Philly, that was people like Bobby Crowder, Sonny Morgan, who played with Gato Barriere and a few other people. One guy in particular, he was really enthusiastic, good bongo, conga, and he met Sergio Mendes. Sergio Mendes took him to Brazil, and he stayed there for a few years. I hear now he's living in San Francisco. And so it was always a lot of enthusiasm here.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as I understand, the origins of Spoken Hand was born out of kind of a culminating event with the African Americas, right?
Yeah, the parade,
The parade in the mid-'90s. And so that kind of spun into what we know today as Spoken Hand, this percussion orchestra that combines West African djembe, Afro-Cuban bata, North Indian tabla, and Brazilian percussion. And so that's been, for me, also a parallel platform to kind of learn and grow amongst other kinds of peers and keepers of the culture of these various percussion traditions here in Philadelphia. And it's something that really, I mean, it's really been an important aspect of culture, of just the cultural sector here in Philadelphia. And you know, I think about what has the impact of Ala Brazil been. Tom and I were coming over here, and yes, we did have these other institutions, Phila Samba, you know, in the '80s, and the Samba Nosso. But really, when Ala Brazil really took a hold in Philadelphia, and we started really doing our performances at the old North by Northwest on Germantown Avenue, and that's kind of where we developed our sound and developed a crowd. And then from there, when World Cafe Live opened up in 2004, that kind of became our new home, and that gave us a different kind of space and a different capacity to really expose people. And if you think about
the helped me bring in several New Year's over there.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, yeah. And people still talk about these New Year's shows, and people tell us, you know, that they met their spouse at one of our shows. And thinking about the impact that we've had is really incredible. I mean, if you really look at it, Ala Brazil has probably been responsible for introducing tens of thousands of Philadelphians to Brazilian music, period. And where that has taken them, I've heard people go to Brazil after they've heard us. I've heard people, you know, just the journeys, how we've played a role in that, I think is really tremendous. And, you know, we're not doing it alone, but if you look at Brazilian music today in Philadelphia, it's a much more vibrant scene. You've got the Batalá Philadelphia, you've got Dende's band, you've got Mike Stevens, Philly Bloco, and Unidos da Philadelphia. So you have a really vibrant Brazilian percussive scene that happens here, but I think Ala Brazil really helped to cultivate the interest and the awareness of Brazilian music, because there's still people today, oh, I love Brazilian music, I go salsa dancing all the time. Like, wait a second, you know what I mean? And so part of what I see is
no offense, but let me teach you something.
Well, for sure. I mean, I think all of us have an educator side of us too, and so I also take opportunities in the show to not only perform, but to also educate folks about and pay tribute to the people and the ensembles and the different socio-cultural movements that have been responsible for the development of this music. Ala Brazil, you know, we do a lot of cover tunes. We play music that comes from all different parts of Brazil. And we play music that is rooted in Ileaye, the founders of the Bloco Afro traditions in 1974 that led to Olodum and some of these other, you know, really grandfathers of contemporary Bahian music, the Bloco Afro movements. We play music that is rooted in the samba traditions out of Rio, and the samba de roda traditions from the interior of Bahia, the maracatu traditions from Recife, Pernambuco, and the coco and the baião. And something that I just love about what Ala Brazil is able to do is represent the plethora of the diversity of Brazilian musical traditions, you know, and rhythms.
When we come back from commercial, I want you to sample that. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm telling you, my joint, you got to do some version of. I know it's going to be hard to do in this moment. You got to do something with Mama Africa. That's my favorite thing that you all did. Your version of the Chica Cesar version.
And all those styles are so hard to get. But then
also you got to throw some of the Paranoid with you know. Just mix that up somehow, But those are my things. I go for those particular things, and then you can add whatever you want to add on that. But I want you to take us on a percussion journey through the different regions of Brazil. What you do in the show, you all do, like you said, the education that you get. But you know, you brought some instruments, so let's. I want to hear you all play a little bit in that space, and then also I want to talk a little bit more about the political, cultural aspect of what you do as well.
For sure.
So again, I'm in studio with members of Ala Brazil, Baba, excuse me, Tom Lowry, and Brother Alex Shaw. If you want to have some questions, comments, anything you want to add to our conversation, they're celebrating 20 years tomorrow at World Cafe Live, and talk a little bit about the show and how people can get tickets. Call us up at 215-634-8065. Again, that's 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. We'll talk with you after these messages.
Don't miss the Electric Magazine Show, hosted by Cody Anderson and Vicky Leach. Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. Exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Mark your calendars for Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church's anti-human trafficking 5K walk run on October 5th. The walk will start at 8 a.m. at Memorial Hall, West Fairmount Park. For another way to participate, to make a donation, text Enon Tab to 77977. For more information, visit enontab.org. Enon, a place where people encounter God. Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller, Senior Pastor.
I've had some. Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Join Word Radio for the EcoWord Environmental Justice Summit, Sunday, October 20th from 2 p.m. till 5 p.m. at Bartram's Garden, 5400 Lindbergh Boulevard. This unique green event will feature lightning talks about the connections between race, income, and the environment, locally, nationally, regionally, and especially in Philadelphia. Featuring John Francis, author of Planet Walker and The Ragged Edge of Silence, Janine Kayembe, founder of Life Do Grow Farm, Zuline Mayfield, environmental activist, Joanne Douglas, program manager of the Watershed Interpretation and Youth River Program at Bartram's Garden, and a special talk and musical performance by Ill-Fated Natives. The summit will also feature Wasted, an EcoWord photo exhibit by Zamani Feeling, a livelihood green sector job resource fair, and a healing drum circle by Music Over Matter. Refreshments will be served, but you must RSVP. Register today at wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875. Supported by the Wincode Foundation.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Shamari Show, hosted by Brother Shamari on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Black Talk Media.
Mama África, a minha mãe, a mãe solteira, tem que fazer mamadeira e todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia. Mama África, a minha mãe, a mãe solteira, tem que fazer mamadeira e todo dia. Além de trabalhar como empacotadeira nas casas Bahia.
Again, that is Baba Tom Lowry, Brother Alex Shaw. Allo Brazil, y'all, 20th anniversary celebration tomorrow at World Cafe Live. Before we jump into some more conversation, give our listening audience information about your celebration tomorrow and how they can get tickets, time, and everything like that.
Absolutely. So tomorrow is going to be this big celebration. Doors open at 7. The show's at 8. We actually just worked it out. We're going to have a little samba lesson right at the top of the show. So one of our dancers are going to lead a little samba session. So if you want to come and get your feet warmed up, but it's going to be at World Cafe Live, located at 3025 Walnut Street. And tickets you can buy either online or over the phone or in person. Today they're still $20 in advance, and day of the show they're $23 plus fees. And you can find it at worldcafelive.com, 215-222-1400. Again, the number at World Cafe Live is 215-222-1400. And what makes this really special is that not only is it our 20th anniversary, but it's also World Cafe Live's 15th anniversary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're actually part of a whole series of events that have been happening this week celebrating their 15th anniversary. And we're really honored because this has been a place for us that's not just a venue. This has really been a partnership. This has really been about family. Yeah. I also, just on a side note, I'm involved as a board member with Live Connections, which is a local nonprofit music education organization that is also connected to World Cafe Live. Okay. So I have a lot of personal connections, but as a band, that's really where we kind of really made our name and our brand. And want to really mention Eugene Rauza. Eugene Rauza was a really important kind of forefather of Allo Brazil. And I'll have Tom talk a little bit about Eugene, but Eugene was actually a structural engineer. And he went to Brazil in the 70s, right? And he worked on the Niterói Bridge. And it was there that the first day in Brazil was like the first day of Carnival.
Okay.
So he got smacked in the face with samba, and he never recovered. And from that point on, he started taking lessons. Cuica was his love, and so they called his nickname became Eugenio da Cuica. Ended up marrying his love, Maria Lucia, who actually flew from Rio back to Philly to be tomorrow at the show, so we're really happy. Okay. But Eugene did so much for Brazilian culture and awareness of Brazilian music and samba in Philadelphia for so many years, and was really kind of what gave us the infrastructure to get our feet, on the ground here in Philadelphia. And I'll let Tom say a little bit more about it, but we're going to pay tribute to Eugene tomorrow for sure.
Great.
And we actually, at World Cafe Live, when Eugene did pass in 2006, it was at World Cafe Live that we actually held his memorial.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of really
it's a great venue,
strong connections there. But I want to let Tom speak a little bit more about this impact that Eugene had on Allo Brazil.
Eugene, yes, he was a piano player, and when he went to Brazil and found the Cuica, no more piano. It's good for us, and he was really the glue that kept us together. The importance of this music and the culture. He introduced us, me, to Bahia, because before it was all samba, real batucada. I heard about the candomblé rhythms, but he's the one that brought the information in.
Let's do a little bit with that, because one of the things you do in your show is you travel to the different regions. Yeah. You'll introduce either sound textures as they're different or dances as they're different. Talk a little bit about, what people can expect educationally in tomorrow's show. Where will you be traveling within Brazil? And talk a little bit about what those dances or rhythms mean culturally to the region that they're from.
Absolutely. So one of the things that have become one of our trademarks is the way that we actually enter and exit the program. So one of our traditions is actually doing a processional into the space. And we have an arrangement that I created probably over 10 years ago now that is really, in my mind, kind of bridging Philadelphia with Pernambuco, which is a state in the northeast of Bahia, northeast of Brazil, north of Bahia. And Pernambuco is a state that is very small and maybe economically not, the top in the country, but culturally there's such an incredible wealth of traditions. So we, in that opening arrangement, we'll do like a little kind of a funk medley that we do, and then it'll slide into maracatu. And maracatu is a really amazing drum and dance tradition that comes out of that part of Pernambuco and Recife. And it's connected back to there was these annual rituals called called the Kings of the Congo, where there would be coronation events for members of the African population in that part that would serve as sort of the intermediaries between the colonial Portuguese and the Africans in that region. And this is a form that almost died, but rose back to popularity in the 90s with some of the popular music bringing maracatu back in. But it's the alfaias are these massive bass drums, and you'll see ensembles with 50, 100 bass drums just playing with caixas or these snare drums and these massive gongue, these big bells, and sometimes shakeres. So we really, want to honor that. We also do a version of koku, and koku is another dance style that's from that region. As we get into the show, we'll do a lot of styles of music that are pertinent to popular music of today in Bahia, ashe music, playing tunes from Chimbalada, for example, that was developed by Carlinhos Brown, one of the really well-known composers and musicians out of Bahia. We do music that takes people down to Rio and do like samba rock music, and we'll do pagode, which is a type of samba that's typically played in the backyards and people's houses when they have barbecues and beer and cooking up the ribs, and everybody's sitting around a table singing songs. And that's something that is really powerful. The community element of this music is, I think, one of the strongest undercurrents. And if you go to any music show in Brazil that's popular music singing, the whole crowd is part of the show, and then you find that throughout the diaspora. But in Brazil, everybody sings the songs together. So we have that styles of music. We have the local Afro traditions from Bahia, featuring music from Ilhaie and Olodum, who I mentioned before. Where Ilhaie were the founders of the local Afro tradition. And if I want to speak very briefly about that, that was developed in the largest black community in Brazil, in Liberdade. And Liberdade was the home of Ilhaie, and the idea there was to sort of recognize the African contributions, because Brazil, being a former Portuguese colony, as we know, the way that education and history is often misrepresented in public education, Ilhaie was really a movement inspired not only by the movement of consciousness and black consciousness that was happening, black power movements that was happening in the United States in the 60s, but also the Pan-African independence movements that were happening as well at the same time. So they were looking at the global movements that were happening and recognizing, the African contributions, and they wanted to use that same energy to promote and to preserve African culture and celebrate African culture here in Bahia. So they really started that movement that led to Olodum, who eventually collaborated with Michael Jackson and Paul Simon, and that's how people started hearing about this music,
And stay in that space a little bit more, because one of the arguments, and it's not an argument, one of the tensions that we have, and one of the reasons that I really want to do a Shamari show, and I do a segment called Dynamics of the African Diaspora, because there are people who try to make you believe that this diaspora thing is not real, and that we don't cross-influence one another, and that people in Brazil are not paying attention to what goes on with the Black Power movements in America, and we're disconnected from the Congo and the music tells you that there has always been this idea of us reaching for one another. So talk a little bit more about how important the role that reality plays in the type of music that you're bringing forward to the people. I just want
to say, when I was in Cuba a couple of years ago, they were blasting James Brown.
Yeah, no, James Brown is an icon everywhere. Bob Marley too, But I think that is a fallacy to think that there's a disconnection there. Groups like Ilhaie actually had a very organized and concerted effort. Every year they would have themes. They would pick a theme. Maybe it would be Senegal, or maybe it would be another ethnic group in Africa. They would send a delegation of members of their organization to that location to do research. For a long time, they would research it. They would bring the research back. It would become educational curriculum. It would also become fodder for the lyrics of the songs that were being composed. You also can look at the samba schools in Rio, and every year there's these themes that happen, and there are research that's done. The local Afro movement was heavily influenced by Cuban music and by Jamaican music. Bob Marley, Jimmy Cliff, these guys are widely known throughout the northeast of Brazil and throughout the whole country, as a matter matter of fact. But when you talk about samba reggae, or samba reggae as they talk about it, it's this notion of this hybridity between samba and Jamaican reggae. Or you hear a lot of Cuban rhythms, you hear son rhythms, you hear merengue from the Dominican Republic, and you find these are ways that Brazilians are interpreting but still putting their own stamp. One of my
on the snare drum, that's the guitar part.
That's right.
On reggae.
That's right.
On the bass, that's the sort of.
Then even spiritually though, like I mean, it seems like the Orisha are very similar. So I mean, like I don't understand how people create this idea that this connection is what governs our connection as African descended people. It's like.
I think it's a lack of exposure, man. It's a lack of just having an opportunity to see for themselves what this is, and to know the stories, and to know the stories that go beyond the kind of official narratives and canons that we're all exposed to. You got to go into these communities. You got to understand the evolution of these forms and the powers that really help to influence their development. As you talk about the Orishas, that's something very quickly Tom had mentioned earlier in the program, candomblé. So if you're not familiar with the word candomblé is sort of the umbrella term for Afro-Brazilian religious traditions that are rooted in primarily Yoruba culture, but you also have elements that come from Bantu culture from Central Africa. And candomblé is not as present here in the Philadelphia region as you might find at like Lukumi traditions, but it still exists, and that has been a really important source of information and inspiration for a lot of popular music. A lot of this music that we're talking about, Ileaye, embeds patterns that come from sacred rhythms out of candomblé music, and they put it in their music that becomes street carnival music. Another group is Filhos de Ganji, the Afoxés. So Afoxés, they call them the candomblé da rua, or the street candomblé, and they play rhythms Ijexá, which is typically associated with Oshun, and they put this in the street, and they, in the midst of carnival, the idea of the Afoxé, Filhos de Ganji, they wear all white, they march through the streets, and they're sort of the carpet of peace, they call themselves. It's a fraternal organization now that maybe up to 18,000 men marching through the streets, and they came. They were involved in the early 50s, and they chose the name. Filhos de Ganji means the sons of Gandhi, and these were dock workers that were stevedores that were working, and they wanted to participate in carnival because at that time, at Bahia, which is estimated 80 to 90% African descendant, did not have a space in these popular street carnivals for Afro-Brazilian presence. So Filhos de Ganji wanted to start to break that barrier, and in part of what they were trying to do strategically was to say we're about peace, and so we're going to use Gandhi as our guide, and so they set the pathway for these other groups that have now become much more present. But it's still, if you look at the realities of today in Carnival in Bahia, there's still a massive inequity in terms of the really rooted Afro-Brazilian groups. The Bloco Afros, their parade times are 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. Versus the pop, the pop bands that are on top of these trio electricals, these big bands that are, at 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a challenge.
When we come back, though, one of the things I appreciate about your performances is, for me, the censoring, the intentional censoring of the African tradition in which you all do. That's why Mama Africa stands out. So when we come back, I want you to talk about the 2 songs that you all performed. Just, let people know what they mean, where they derive from, but talk about, at least for you, why that was important to be conscientious about the censoring of the African culture in what you all do through Allo Brazil. Again, 20th anniversary tomorrow at World Cafe Live, and if people want information and tickets, again, that information, that number and that website. And
it's at worldcafelive.com, and the phone number is 215-222-1400. That's worldcafelive.com to get your tickets for the 20th anniversary Allo Brazil show tomorrow night, Saturday, October 5th. At World Cafe Live. Doors are at 7 and the show is at 8.
I'm Eric Keith Grimes. Brother Shamari will talk with you after these messages.
Get your money straight. Get my money right. With Solomon Jones and Akbar Hassan. Fridays on Wake Up with Word. 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. Hosted by Solomon Jones. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
Independence is a precious thing, but now and then everyone needs a little help. Isn't it good to know that getting the help you need doesn't mean drastically changing your life? Always Best Care Philly and Delaware is there to give you just the amount of help you need, from a few hours a week to as many hours as you need, handling everything from light housekeeping to meals, and so much more. Don't struggle. Contact Always Best Care and see how easy it is to age in place. Call us at 267-909-9248 or visit abcphillybristol.com.
Support independent black media and join the 4WORD movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
Wincoat Wellness is changing the way the world ages by redefining home care. Wincoat Wellness makes it possible to achieve independent living through companion care. If you or someone you know has a loved one who is in need of home care services, the enrollment process is seamless. Give them a call at 215-277-5914 to begin enrollment with their dedicated team or home care associates, and before you know it, you'll be receiving care. Call now, 215-277-5914.
Live Nation presents Friday, February 14th, 2020, Boys to Men at the Met Philadelphia. Valentine's Day, February 14th, Boys to Men will be home for a special night at the Met Philadelphia. Local presale begins Thursday, October 3rd from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. All tickets on sale Friday, October 4th at 10 a.m. Make it a great night out with your special sweetheart. Valentine's Day, February 14th, Boys to Men at the Met Philadelphia. For more information or to purchase tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com or wordradio.com and click on the Boys to Men banner.
Go.
You're listening to The Shamari Show, hosted by Brother Shamari on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Black Talk Media.
And welcome back to The Shamari Show. I'm in studio with Alex Shaw, Baba Tom Lowry, and we're talking about Ala Brazil's upcoming 20th anniversary. We're talking about Brazilian music. In our previous segment, y'all played two songs, Mama Africa and Power No. Talk a little bit about those songs, kind of culturally their significance. And as I was saying to you, one of the things I like is that you all intentionally kind of put the Africa in the Brazil. Talk about why and why that was important.
Well, you absolutely cannot negate the importance and the presence and the contribution of African culture, and broadly, as we know, Africa is a very diverse and massive place. So Brazil, as happened throughout the Americas, received forced migration, received enslaved Africans for centuries, and you have a massive base of knowledge and how these traditions have manifested. Brazil actually is the largest population of African descended people in the world outside of Nigeria, and you have traditions that are kind of Brazil has become such a like a mixing pot they like to talk about, but it's also a way to not acknowledge the importance of these different cultural contributions. So the drum and the presence of the drum and the richness of these rhythms are really, you have to attribute it to the diversity of African culture. Looking at the importance of that, that for us, Ala Brazil was born out of the love for the drum, was born out of the love for the rhythm. That's where we started from. That's the communities that we came from. And so for us, that's always been central. And to not acknowledge the African presence in that and to not center that, I think would be not right. It's also something that I think, being here in Philadelphia, it resonates. And Ala Brazil, there's something about what we're able to do with our audiences. We have some of the most diverse audiences, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what we're able to do in a major institution that can speak to the breadth of the Philadelphia community, and not just one aspect or one class of our communities. And Ala Brazil really does it, and the drum does that. And so for me, the music, the African centering that African influence is super important. So you were asking about the songs.
Yeah, Mama Africa.
Mama Africa, now that's your favorite one, right? So
yeah.
That was actually composed by Chico Cesar. He's a composer from Northeast Brazil, and it's a song that I also fell in love with. And so in that song, he's really talking about, he's kind of personifying Mama Africa as our mom, like the hardworking mother who's got 2 jobs and is trying to raise all these kids, and at the same time, you know, just trying to survive. And through that perseverance, is still giving rise to beauty and giving rise to, you know, to love. So.
Quick question: in the version you all do, you do a break with the djembe, and the dance. It's a feature. Is that part of the original, or is that part of your arrangement?
That's
of that?
Right.
Because that's the piece I love the most.
You love it the most, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the thing. I think we do a lot as a cover material. So we do a lot of material that has been recorded by other artists first, and then we get inspired by it. But what we do is put our own stamp on it. Ala Brazil has always, you know, had pride in putting our own arrangements and wanting to center that, and knowing the richness of the djembe community here in Philadelphia and djembe dance, Guinea dance. Yeah. I wanted to see how can we bring these elements together. So that was really an idea that I'd had. We're gonna play, even though it's a reggae, what can a reggae feel like? Oh, kind of like a lamba feel, right? So we play, and then we decided, okay, at the end of the song, we're gonna hit, you know, like a Soli Manjani. And so to be able to feature that in the dance and to give a light to this community that has existed for many decades here. Yeah. And so sometimes we featured, you know, different stilt walkers. Yes. And, you know, like how can we really, and we brought in folks from Universal, and, you know, that family has been an important part. And so how can we use Ala Brazil as a platform to also acknowledge all of these other cultural workers, all these other artists in the city that are doing this work day in and day out? How can we show the possibilities of bringing these things together? And so the other song that we sang, that I sang for you early in the show, Paranauê, and I forgot what was the other. Anyway, well, we ended on Paranauê. The point is that those songs came from the rich tradition of Capoeira Angola, and Capoeira Angola is also had a really important history here in Philadelphia. And Tom mentioned Ken Dosser earlier. He was really the one responsible for helping to bring Capoeira Angola and get its footing here through Mestre Cobra Mansa and his Mestre Moraes, and then we have Mestre João Grande in New York. And you know, that actually was for me where I really got a strong base in Brazilian music, was through the traditions of Capoeira Angola. That we have a really wonderful community and a diverse community. We've got the Project Capoeira group that's on Ray Street with Mestre Doutor. I think Chicago still has this group, Low Country, somewhere. And then my group, Fica Philadelphia, that I've been a participant in since '98. And really, really proud of my brother Kamau, who actually was just made Mestre in August.
Oh wow! Okay.
And he's one of the first of this generation of African Americans that have been recognized in Brazil as a Mestre of Capoeira, and that is no small feat. Capoeira is a lifestyle. Capoeira is a lifelong commitment, and for him to have been training for 25 plus years is really shown that, you know, that commitment to keeping a group. And not only that, his partner Eva Agbada was also just made a contramestra. And to my knowledge, she's Filipina American, and she's the first Filipina that has been given that title. So we have people that have this commitment to Capoeira, that have this commitment to samba, that have commitment, and so Ala Brazil is like that intersection of all of that love.
My son was in the 1 week capoeira camp he did. Ira did the djembe, and he did the capoeira. My son loved it, man.
That's right.
It was
That's
great,
right.
so.
We need more folks. We need young people to be exposed to this. It's not just the knowledge. It's not just the cultural knowledge. It's the discipline. It's the respect. It's understanding lineage and how these traditions, these persecuted traditions, would not be here if it were not for these mestres that made it a point to keep it alive and to maintain that resistance. So we can't pursue, you know, these forms without really acknowledging the importance of these legacies and these traditions and paying tribute to and paying honor to that. And that's been a really important tenet for me as a part of the Ala Brazil, wanting to honor and respect those folks that made it possible for us to do this today. Brazilian music, I love it. Is it party music? Yes. Is it? But it's this music, for me, it's not just about the rhythms. It's not just math. It's not just carnival. This is about the music that was born out of struggle. This is music that was born out of resistance. This is music that was born out of love. How can we put that not only that, but make it in a way that is accessible to Philadelphians. Even if you've never been to Brazil, you don't speak a word of Portuguese, you don't know anything about the music at all, and either rhythms, you don't have any clue about what the rhythm is called. You go in there, you feel it.
Right.
You feel it, and a door opens for you, and that's what we're all about.
And if that was your mission and your goal, congratulations, because for the last 20 years, you all have done that. You know, shout out to my brother Howard Tucker, who was like one of your biggest ambassadors, man. I used to work with Howard. He would talk about you all the time. So shout out to him as well. Carrying it forward, you know, getting this, you know, I'm familiar with Ira and the work he does with the djembe at Imhotep and training students up. And what do you see? How do you all do that? How do you get this into the minds and to the spirits of the younger generation?
It's a good question. I mean, I personally don't have any consistent community classes. I know a colleague of mine, Mike Stevens, who was a former member of Allo Brazil, has a ongoing class, and I think has become Unidos of Philadelphia. I do the work more so in introductory spaces. So sometimes I teach as faculty member at Temple, or I teach at University of the Arts, Swarthmore College at times, or I also have opportunities to go in schools, public schools, private schools, teaching workshops, residencies, to teach an ongoing everyday community class. It's a big commitment, and where I am right now in my personal and professional life, it's not really sustainable, and I've just decided to focus on some other things. But I love introducing people to this music and getting them to expand. And look, man, we got incredible drumline traditions here in Philadelphia. I mean, one of my dreams is, what if we brought together all of these community drumlines in Philly and bring them together with all these Brazilian drumlines? What would that be? Right?
Let's do
what
it.
kind of cultural intersections would that be? Right? So that's been something I've been, you know, aspiring to and thinking about. But yeah, I mean, the education is super important.
Real quick, you know, one of the other things you all do is collaboration, and at your shows, you always have some kind of guests popping up. Who can people expect to experience tomorrow at World Cafe Live?
Well, good question, man. I mean, sometimes we like to keep it a surprise, but I'm actually excited that we have a couple younger folks coming in. Some of my son included, as well as another band member's son, going to pop up. We're going to honor Maria Lucia, as I mentioned, you know, Eugene's spouse and her family. So we're going to have 3 generations of the Rouser family. Maria Lucia, she's here. Maria Lucia's coming, and Tamara and her daughter Angelina. So we're going to have 3 generations of the Rousers. We're going to have other guest dancers. Mama Janino Sayanda, who works with Ira, is going to come out and do a cameo on Mama Africa. We got, trying to think of some other folks that are coming. I think we're going to have Kamau and Eva come out and celebrate with us too. So we didn't want to go too expansive. We've worked with all kinds of guests, but we wanted to bring it back to who's been the Allo Brazil family for all these years, and that's what we want to honor.
So again, that's tomorrow, World Cafe Live 20th anniversary. If you want to get your tickets, go to the World Cafe Live website. Phone number?
Phone number is 215-222-1400. And today the tickets are still $20. Day of show will be $23 plus fees. So get your tickets. As last I heard, we were halfway. All the tickets were halfway sold. So I think we might be selling out. Don't wait. You don't want to miss this show. This is epic, and we're really excited to see you guys tomorrow night.
All right, let's party our way on out of here.
All right.
Allo Brazil.
and sisters! Don't miss The Source. Weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on WURD Radio, WURDRadio.com, and the WURD Radio app.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD,